welcome to the Because I Can live podcast. All right. Talk to me for a minute. Do you ever feel overwhelmed? Do you ever feel like you wish you could clone yourself? Imagine if there were two of you walking around, one running the business, one doing the dishes and the laundry, one ordering all the stuff that you have to order. Wouldn't that be so fun? Wouldn't that be so magical? Well, it's actually a reality. You can hire people to help you do anything from ordering dinner to helping you post on social media. And as a business owner, I'll tell you what, I've got a good staff. I do. I feel very, very blessed. But when I first started, I thought hiring was going to kill my business. I had so many fears built around hiring. Maybe you feel or felt some of these things too, like I just don't have enough money to pay, or if I do pay, I could just do the work and make that money. Are they going to do good things as good as me? And so it held me back a lot from hiring. And it wasn't until my brother came in and kind of gave me a little brotherly shake and said, Allison, if you keep trying to do everything, wear all the hats, you're not going to be able to grow. And so it was that moment where I decided to step back a little bit and really dig into the hiring process. And as soon as I figured out how to hire and how to hire right, my business exploded. And hiring to me has absolutely changed my life. Instead of me working thousands of hours a week, which, I'm exaggerating there, I've been able to get back my life, but yet my business still is growing because my team is executing on things that are executable. I don't have to do everything. And I'm telling you this story right now because as we went through the fourth quarter and we're in 2021 now, and we've got upcoming holidays, like we've got Valentine's around the corner, Easter around the corner, Mother's Day around the corner. The cycle starts over again. And hiring is one of the things that absolutely changed my business. And on today's podcast, I brought in Alison, who's going to talk to us about hiring and what you should do when you first get started, some things that you should look out for, where would you even find someone to get started? She's going to talk about that. And then how to pay them, like what is the hourly rate? And then how to keep them happy and have strong communication. And then what if they don't work out? How do you fire them? I know we have to talk about that topic. With the good, there's always can be some bad. And so we dive into that a little bit in today's podcast episode. Hiring, just imagine if you had your whole to-do list, you could look at it and you could say, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And then someone else does all those things for you. So at the end of the day, all those things that you didn't want to do are checked off the list. Angels singing, right? Well, that's what actually can happen when you hire someone. And that is why I'm bringing in Allison to tell all the details. So get ready to take notes because she's got some amazing tips to help you to be able to hire. Maybe it's your very first hire. Maybe it's your 10th hire. But she's got some really good tips to help you to find those powerhouses that you absolutely love working with. All right, let's dig in to today's topic. So let's dive into this. Allison, I'm so grateful that you're able to hop on with us. Will you give us a little bit of background?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me today, Allison. I am a leadership and CEO coach, and I love working with clients to hire, manage, and lead their teams. I just really love working with people and helping small business owners have great workplace cultures, because I think that our modern day workplace culture that you find in a lot of corporate America really doesn't work for a lot of people. And I've found too many people, especially women, who end up leaving the workforce because they can't balance it with what they want to do with their families and their careers. And so my goal is to work with small business owners to create places where all employees, all team members can really have what they want in terms of their careers and their lives, because it's so important.
I love that. And one thing that stuck out on your website is you were saying, do you wish you could clone yourself? Do you wish you could find more hours in your day? And you have great tips and tricks and strategies, like tactical things to help small business owners make that very first hire. And then not only make their very first hire, but how to train them and how to make them happy.
Yes.
So that they'll want to stay forever, because hiring someone takes a long time.
It does.
It costs money. And then if you have to turn around and fire them in 2 weeks because the communication wasn't good or whatever the issue is, it's just time and so much money wasted. So tell us, at what point does an entrepreneur need to start hiring? If we're talking about brand spanking new, they're starting their business, at what point do they need to start hiring? Let us know on that one.
I mean, honestly, I think it's up to the individual, but it's never too early to hire. I hired my first virtual assistant before I was even making significant money, because I was willing to invest the dollars, into hiring, because I knew how much it would help me. I mean, I think probably a lot of people have a similar experience with being an entrepreneur, that suddenly you have to be knower of all of the things. And I don't know about you, but I am just not fabulous at all of the things. And after messing around with my website and social media and things that are just not in my wheelhouse, and it was taking way too much of my time, I knew I needed help. And so I think, hiring, even if it's someone, I think I've heard people feel scared about hiring because they're thinking about full-time employees and big teams. And hiring for early entrepreneurs can be as easy as a VA, a virtual assistant, 5 hours a week, 10 hours a month. I mean, just a little bit of help to really get you going and to kind of add in that expertise to where it's not your zone of genius.
I love it. I love it. So what are some things that a VA can do for 5 hours a week or even 10 hours a month? What are some of those tasks?
So it varies based on what you like to do. I have VAs who do a lot of the social media posting. And so, for example, I actually still write all of my own content. However, I have somebody else, my VA, who posts and manages all the scheduling for the content for me, because I found even just that step was more than I had time to do. And by having her do that, it frees up my time for client work and strategy work and big thinking. So they can do social media. They can read and respond to emails. Emails for a lot of people takes up many, many hours of the day.
Yes.
This year, as we've all been home and emailing and on Zoom more, so they can respond to emails. They can help manage your calendar and schedule consult calls. They can send and work on your email campaigns. I mean, I think there's a lot of tasks for just a few hours a month that a virtual assistant can do.
Okay, so how do you, and I'll ask you in a minute where you find these people, but how do you set someone up for success? Because I'm sure you've done this. I've done this. We hire someone and we're like, just fix our problem. Just go figure it out and fix our problem. And then a couple months or a couple weeks later, they're like, I hate this job. I quit. So how do we prevent them, or not prevent them? How do we set them up for success?
Yes. So I think there's a very good middle ground between giving someone enough information and not micromanaging and managing the entire process. So I am a big fan of a lot of communication, especially up front. I like talking to a VA and finding out, what tasks do you love doing? What do you feel is in your zone of genius? How do you like to receive projects and communication? Some people prefer email. They'd rather read the project and they can absorb it all that way. Some people would rather jump on a phone call because that's going to be faster for them to absorb. Some want to read the email and then jump on the phone call to ask questions. And so I think finding out their preferred communication style up front is perfect. Starting with projects that are smaller, so the quicker win for both the VA and for you, I think helps set up the relationship, test out the communication, and build trust up front. So those are just some tips that I do when hiring new employees, and especially when hiring new VAs, even for just a few hours a week. Communication is the most important piece of it all, I think.
Do you have some type of a management board, or are you doing this through email or Slack or Trello? How do you manage?
Personally, I do it via email and Messenger. I have a lot of clients who use Slack and love it. I just haven't ventured over into Slack yet, so I can't speak to it. But
I think it's a lovely relationship over there.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so you're setting up the quick wins. You're way over communicating on that front end and finding out their type of communication style. Okay, so let's dig into, where do you find these people?
That is a great question. There's lots of places to find a VA. So I work with clients up front to figure out what they want someone to do, right? Because that's going to be different for each person, even if it's only 5 or 10 hours a month. So writing kind of a short job description, job ad that matches what you want them to do and gives a feel for who you are as a business owner in your company is really helpful. Then posting that job ad everywhere. So sending it to your email list, putting it on your website, putting it on your social media channels, asking in your networks for referrals. And then you'll probably find a lot of people just by those methods and by referrals, because there's so many great people out there. There are sites like Upwork and Fiverr, where if you're looking kind of for a short-term project, you can also post your information there and see who applies. But I have found the best luck through, your own list. People who like working with you are going to refer it out to people that they know. And then referrals from your contacts and networks and people who use VAs.
Okay. Love it. Yeah, I've found quite a few on Upwork and Fiverr.
Yes.
Really good ones and not so good ones over there.
Yeah. Which I also say then too, you always interview more than one person.
Yeah.
You may get you think the person looks wonderful, but they may not be the right fit for you. May have been the right fit for someone else, but not for you. So always interview at least 2 to 3 people, even on Upwork, Fiverr, referrals.
Okay. And then can I just give a little self-plug for you? On your site, don't you have really good interview questions to ask people?
I do. I actually have a free interview guide, and it has 10 interview questions that you can use for almost any position.
That's so great. Can you give the URL real quick? But when you're listening to this podcast, don't go yet. You got to listen to the end of all of what Alison has to share. Then you can go get it.
That's right. It's AlisonBegor.com, and you click on interview guide template.
And Alison is with 1 L. Woohoo!
The right way.
The 1L Alison Club right here is happening.
That's right.
Okay, so now you've found someone. Talk about how much do they expect to be paid? I know I'm totally putting you on the spot here, and it can be such a gray, but can you kind of give us an estimation?
It's going to depend on the person and their experience. It's going to depend on if they work with an agency or a company, they're an individual contractor who has other work, or they're in business as a VA for themselves. So it could be anywhere. I mean, if you're hiring a college student, let's say, who wants the hours and it's more like an internship VA, you might pay that person, $15 an hour. A professional VA, depending on how many, if they're doing their own taxes, their own expenses, you probably would pay, $25 to $40 an hour. I mean, I think it varies. I really believe, though, in paying people well and paying people for their expertise. So if you can only afford, if your budget is $75 a month and that only equates to 5 or 6 hours, then just do the 5 or 6 hours and pay someone well instead of trying to find a cheaper rate for someone.
Okay, so I've heard you talk about this over on your Instagram. You talk a lot about retaining your people. And I think if pay has a lot to do with it, if they feel like they're overworked and underpaid, they're not going to stay. So what are some other tips besides a good salary or a good hourly or a good rate can you do to help keep people on so that they're just not like fly by night contractors.
Yeah. And pay is important, but it's not the only thing. So I definitely think we should pay people for their worth and their value and pay them well. But I think too many entrepreneurs, managers, just a lot of people I've talked to believe that the only reason someone leaves a job is pay. And usually that's not true. They usually leave for other reasons. So ways to have really good retention is, providing good work projects, having really great communication, valuing your team members, your employees, your VAs. And one great way to value people is by valuing their time. Having short meetings, not wasting time, because, with a lot of fluff, but really valuing people's time is important. And saying thank you, showing your appreciation to their work, their product, recognizing the value that they bring to your team and your business is so important. I mean, most people I talk to, if they feel valued by their boss and if they love the work they're doing, pay doesn't matter as much anymore.
Agreed. I think on the beginning it does to
Yes.
get them in and then to keep them around. And don't you feel like, I was talking to my husband about this. We have a conversation about it a lot, is the word thank you and being grateful is becoming a lost art.
It is. Especially
in the workplace. Because employees are like, I pay you. And employees are like, well, I do the work for you. And we're forgetting that gratitude goes a long way in building strong relationships.
It goes a really long way. And be sincere when you say thank you. I have seen too many managers who almost routinely, it's like they have a pop-up reminder telling them to say thank you. And it doesn't, right? And you're like, oh, whatever. He's just saying thank you again. But sincere in your thank you, you're sincere in your appreciation. It matters and makes a difference for people. I think too, finding out from people how they like to receive feedback and appreciation. Like, do they want to be recognized publicly, or would they rather, have lunch with you or just receive a thank you email or a card in the mail? I mean, people like receiving appreciation so many different ways that tailoring your appreciation to what that person likes, not necessarily what you like, is also important.
So one of my favorite things that I did, I'm just going to say this because I still giggle about it. I hired a VA, Julie Porter. A lot of people in my community, they know her. This woman, I'll tell you what, she's phenomenal. And I started working with her, loved her, found out that she got an RV. And so I sent her a case of RV toilet paper.
That's awesome.
I said, congratulations on your RV. And her reply back was, I will forever work for you, Alison Prince.
That's right. See, you got it.
Like, you can be bought in toilet paper. And now it's 2020. Everybody's like, yes.
She's like, she was ahead of the curve.
She knew how valuable toilet paper was.
That's right.
But it was just like a spur of the moment, funny thought that I had. And that started such a great relationship. And RV toilet paper really didn't cost a lot. It was just something completely outside of the box. And
it was the thought.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Okay. So now we're humans. We're all humans.
Yes.
We go through cycles of exhaustion. We go through cycles of work overload. How do we keep our staff, our team, whether it's an employee or an independent contractor, how do we keep them motivated to keep going?
I think, one, talking about it. And so recognizing that people are going to have down weeks, low energy weeks, things that come up in their lives, and being flexible when that stuff happens, again, increases that trust and that loyalty. And then people are more likely to work harder and be more productive on their energetic weeks. When you've been given grace and there's flexibility, I don't know. I just find that people are more motivated and more engaged, and they're more willing to do, the work for you because they know that you have their back and that if something comes up in their lives, you're understanding. When you're constantly, work all of the time, that's when you tend to lose engagement, lose motivation, not recognizing people's own natural energy levels. And that's not to say that you shouldn't have high standards or high expectations for people. I think you can definitely have high standards and also have flexibility and allowing people to kind of ebb and flow with their work.
Okay. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Okay, so this leads me to the next question is, how do you know when to fire them? Let's say they just get stuck in this low motivation. They're not producing, they're missing deadlines, or maybe they're still getting deadlines, but it just feels off. At what point do you let people go?
So I usually do, and the amount of days could be what works best for your business. I use a 60-day process. So once I start recognizing that things are off, either the work quality is not there, the deadlines are being missed, whatever it might be, I sit down and have a conversation with the employee, just, hey, what's going on? Sometimes it could be as simple as they're having a major life crisis at home, and that's distracting them, and that's what's causing it. And if that's the case from that conversation, you might be able, to see how long that might last, give a little bit of grace, and things get back on track. But often at that conversation, then I work with the employee to see, what do you need to succeed at your job? Let's make sure we're clear on the expectations. Sometimes they need to be reminded, or sometimes they weren't clear up front. And then set, I would say, 3 to 4 goals that are measurable with deadlines to complete in the next 30 days. And then you go and see how things are working for the next 30 days, and you check in. And if things are going better, great. Give another 3 to 4 goals for the next 30 days that will continue their improvement. And then hopefully by the end of 60 days, they're right back to being a star employee. If they can't meet that first 30-day goal, and you give another 3 to 4, and at 60 days, they really can't meet it, then you know to fire them. I think there are also some cases where you'll know much faster. And so hanging on to someone who's not working, especially if your business is moving fast, you might shorten this whole process down to 15 days. I mean, I like to give employees grace. People have things that are going on in their lives, but it's also good to fire fast if it's not working out, because it's actually kinder to the employee as well. Because then that allows them to go do something else that's a better fit for them.
Agreed. You're making that hard call. You're just like, I love you so much to know that this isn't working for you.
That's right. And I've had a lot of people who've come back, I've had to fire people throughout my career, and they've come back afterwards and say, thank you. I was stuck and I'm not doing good work and I didn't like my job, but I probably wouldn't have left on my own. And so thank you, because now I have found this great job and I'm so much more energized, and it's just a better fit for me.
Ah, that's so good. That's so agreed. It's hard. Sometimes as an entrepreneur,
it is hard.
Really hard decisions.
Yes, it is hard.
The worst part. I think firing people is the worst part of being an entrepreneur.
Yes.
This is the part where I'm like, can I just have a boss to let them fire people? Oh, firing is super, super hard, because you're dealing with a human being.
Yeah.
That has a family.
Firing should always be hard, because that's what makes us have good empathy and compassion and be good managers and entrepreneurs.
True. I guess if it was easy.
Yeah, I've fired lots of people. I've helped people with firing, and I still get that nervous feeling in my stomach before I go in. I want to totally abandon ship and not do it, but there are ways to do it well, and you're going to be nervous every time. So just own it, and it's okay.
Okay, so now tell me, why don't you give me like 3 reasons why, and I know you've kind of sprinkled this in, but 3 reasons why people should hire someone today and not wait until, I don't know, whatever their excuse is. Why should people hire today?
It's good to hire today because investing in people is actually investing in yourself. So it can be really scary to spend money and to think about having to be responsible for someone else's pay. Yeah. But when you invest in people, you're investing in yourself, because now you've increased your commitment to your business. because you're going to be paying someone else. And so I think that's one really big reason. The second reason is it allows you to work in your zone of genius. I'm thinking most people, unless they're website designers, probably didn't start their businesses to be tinkering around with their website all day. And at least I know for me, it's not my zone of genius. So I could spend hours working on this website. Whereas if I hire someone, I get those hours back to work on my zone of genius. They probably will do it in 20% of the time that it takes me. So win for everybody. So it allows you to do more of what you want to do in your business and more of the money generating, mission driven client work that you want to do. And the third reason is that you can work less hours. So if you're at a point in your business where you're working so many hours that you don't feel like you have the balance you want or the time freedom you want to do the fun things in your life or spend them with your family, whatever that is for you, hiring someone gives you some of that time back so that you can enjoy life. And I think that's always important.
Oh my goodness. I agree. Some of the monotonous tasks that you're like, I don't want to do this again. Yes. And you pay someone else, it's not just the time, but it's like the stress load. And your brain opens to creativity or things that you'd never thought of before because you're not dealing with that big, long, monotonous checklist that you have to do.
Right. And there's a lot of tasks where you think, well, I should know how to do this. Well, you might know how to do it, but that doesn't mean someone else may do it differently or may do it better than you. And that's okay. And even seeing someone else's creative process with tasks that you did a different way helps your own creativity.
Okay. So Alison, if you're sitting there and you're like, okay, I need to just 5 hours of my month would be life-changing for me, or 10 hours of my life, being able to hire that back. But you feel a little bit overwhelmed. What can you do? Like, let's say they come to you and you're like, Alison, help me. What can you do in your business to help them to overwhelm themselves with the whole hiring process?
I can help them, one, by gaining clarity on what tasks that they have that they'd like to outsource or hire out and which ones they should hire first. So who do we need to hire first to get the biggest bang for your dollar? Writing that job description, matching it to your business, figuring out where to recruit employees or virtual assistants, helping with the interview process. So a lot of my work helps with mindset as well as putting the systems into place so that you can hire good employees. And then I also continue the process after hiring with the communication, learning how to delegate well. Delegating is something that a lot of my clients say they struggle with. They still hold on to all the tasks. They've hired a VA and they're still doing all of the things. So learning how to delegate and communicate well with the VA. And then what we've already talked about, learning great strategies for engaging and motivating and keep them loyal to your team.
Okay. I love that. So what's one of your favorite stories of a client that you worked with who was a little bit unsure about hiring, but now has hired someone and it's like this really warm, fuzzy feeling story? Do you have any of those?
Yes, I had a client who just this fall decided to hire, she actually hired two VAs. So one VA was a tech VA, and then the other VA was more of an administrative VA. So it's a good example of how different skill sets, different VAs, it wasn't all one person. And the tech VA, she actually was able to utilize pretty well right up front because she knew tech wasn't her thing. So it was easier to kind of hand it over and let the tech VA tell her what she needs and what to do. There was some learning curve there because everything was done so fast that she almost felt bad that she wasn't giving her enough work because she didn't know how long things would take. But then with her admin VA, she had a lot more of the mind drama about, I need, all of my work to be perfectly organized before I give it to her because she'll think I'm a mess and she'll, she won't want to work with me anymore and I'm not sure what to give her. So we worked a lot on even just that mind drama of and practicing delegating and what to give her VA, how to communicate well with her VA. And now her business has already, I think she told me yesterday, her business in December is already 3 times what it was last year, and she's only in the first week. And so her VAs have just helped her tremendously. So it's so exciting.
I love hearing those win stories. Yeah,
Yes.
hiring completely changed everything. When I learned how to hire, it was game on.
Yes. I mean, you can really grow and scale your business at that point.
Yeah. And I got rid of the stuff that was on my to-do list that was sitting there for and I was like, someone else crossed off things on my to-do list? Oh, praise them.
Where were you last month?
Seriously. Okay, Alison, this was so good. And you spilled your guts on so much about how to hire. So where can people find you, find out more about you? So if they have further questions, if they want to get the interview questions, tell us all the things on where they can find you.
They can find me on Instagram at Alison Bagor, and on Facebook, I'm at Alison Bagor Coaching. So I hang out more on Instagram, but you can find me both places. And then my website is AlisonBagor.com, and that interview guide is right there on the top that you can click and download it.
And will you spell Bagor just in case anybody is like, wait.
It's B as in boy, E-G-O-R.
Perfect. Okay, Alison, thank you so much. That was so good.
Oh, thank you, Alison, for having me on today.
All right. Are you so fired up to go start hiring at least one person to buy back 5 to 10 hours of your month? Oh my goodness. It's heavenly. It is heavenly hiring someone to get the stuff done for you. All right. So I want to give you the top 10 takeaways from this podcast episode. And as always, let me know if these were your top 10 takeaways as well, or if you had others. I love hearing your feedback. You can direct message me on Instagram. You can leave it on Facebook, but just let me know because I'd love to hear your feedback as well. All right, so we're going to start off with number 10, and then we're going to work our way back up to number 1. So number 10, investing in other people is actually investing in yourself. Number 9, before you fire someone, give them a specific deadline and specific goals to see if they can accomplish them, because maybe they were just having an off week, and see how they do. If they don't get it done, then they're basically firing themselves, and you don't have to feel so much as the bad guy because they're just not getting the work done. Writing's on the wall. They're basically firing themselves. Number 8, pay isn't the only reason why people quit, which leads us to number 7, is gratitude goes a long way. Don't forget to be grateful. Tell your employees, your VAs, thank you, and let them know how much you care. Number 6, you can hire a VA for 5 to 10 hours a month just to get your feet wet, to help buy back some of that time. Maybe you want to take a nap. Maybe you want to go to the park with your kids. You don't have to hire them full time, 40 hours a week. You can hire them for a little bit of time to see how it feels with your schedule. Number 5, when you hire, go so heavy on the front end communication so that they understand it. Number 4, then ask them how they like to receive the project information. Was it by phone call? Is it by a Trello card or an email or a Facebook Messenger? What is the best way they like to receive? Or can you take the time and train them to something that you are already using so that no communication things fall through the cracks? 3, when you hire someone, give them quick wins. When you get them those quick wins of them accomplishing a goal, it's going to make them feel like a rock star. And you're going to feel like a rock star. And it just develops into this strong, trusting relationship. And just give them those easy projects. And then you can start breaking them into harder projects. Number 2, put your job description everywhere. Social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, anywhere you can possibly think of. Put your job descriptions out there so that more people have the chance to apply. And then number 1, are you ready for it? I totally believe this. It is never too early to hire. Hiring has changed my life. I get to work with the most amazing, beautiful souls on this planet. And I love it. I love showing up every day. Julie Porter and I She's my EA, executive assistant. I hired her as a VA. She came in just doing one small task for me. She nailed it. So I gave her another task and she knocked that one out of the park and gave her a third chance to make sure she was as good as she was giving me, and she was. So she became my full-time VA. Then I moved her to my executive assistant, where everything runs through Julie before it gets to me, and she has brought clarity, sanity, organization to my life, and I love that woman. And there are all others on the team. I've got an amazing team. Oh, I could just squeeze them all. Love, love, love my team. Working with them has been such a joy because we're all in this mission together to help you grow your online business. And the way I feel about my team, I want you to be able to feel about your team. You love them, and that you randomly will send them toilet paper or whatever it is to congratulate them on something that they have accomplished. Anyway, I hope you loved that podcast episode. You took some massive notes, got some ideas, are all fired up to start hiring for your business. And Allison, the same way that she spells my name, or the same way we spell each other's name, we have twinning names. She was so gracious to give us so much information about hiring. Anyway, go out there, hire, so you can put more of that money in your pocket where it belongs, and we'll see you next week. Bye.